Hello and welcome to another Access VFX podcast. I always seem to start with a clap, I don't know why. So welcome if you're watching on YouTube or whether you're listening on any of the podcast platforms that we use. This is another Celebrity Squares special episode of the podcast. I think we're on this could be episode 30 actually. This could be like an anniversary style, the big 30 episodes. So it's a big one. And I was just going to give you a bit of a background on this particular episode. So Access VFX kind of insiders will know that we've been planning an e-mentoring podcast episode for a while now. What with our regular promotion of our Foundry sponsored platform hosted by Prospella.com and our relentless calls out for more industry mentors. If you're on LinkedIn, you'll know that we're all on there kind of banging the drum. So we now find ourselves in a world in flux. Most of us are home working. I think everybody on this call is at home. Is that fair to say?
No,
Yep.
No, I couldn't work out if that was your home office, Emma, or you're still...
I'm the only one here.
Amazing. Buy a shotgun. You might be there for a while. So yeah, we find ourselves in a world in flux, and most of us are home working, apart from Emma. Juggling childcare and kind of life in general, but also finding ways we can continue to be our best selves whilst in the confines of our own homes. Some of us maybe spending more time with family, perhaps being more creative, painting, writing that novel, learning a new skill, learn to play the guitar, whatever. But for Access VFX, and I know it's a shared view that there's no better time really to ask people to sign up as a remote e-mentor, right? To support somebody who wants to get into the creative industry, who can't make it to a careers fair, an animation festival or games festival. As we all know, they've all been canned, they've all been cancelled. So rather than do the usual call to action on socials, which we're all getting very good at now, we thought we'd gather a host of current mentors from a range of studios already doing it and actively mentoring, as well as inviting our sponsors and our co-founder of the platform we use, Prospella.com. So let's attempt to get this started. So I'm going to work my way around this Celebrity Squares I've got in front of me. So I'm going to start with Sid. Sid, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, so I'm Sid. I don't know if it's mirrored on my screen or not. It might be, but I'm from Carse and Waterman, a small studio in Stoke-on-Trent in the Midlands, and I'm an animator.
Amazing. And Sid, how long have you been mentoring on the platform?
I don't know an exact date, but I think it's been almost a year. So yes, for a decent amount of time.
So you're seasoned. So I'm going to put you down as vet. You're one of our veterans.
Okay,
nice.
Yeah.
So in no particular order, I'm going around my square as I see it anyway. It might not be what you see on YouTube. So Daniel, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, yeah. So again, that's going to be back to front, but I'm a compositor of one of us. I've been mentoring a couple of people since last July, I think.
Oh, nice. So another veteran. Brilliant. Excellent. That's what we like to hear. Brilliant. Thank you, Daniel. And then Arielle, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Arielle from Foundry, so I'm a creative specialist. I just started recently, about 2 months ago, back in January, joining the mentorship program.
Brilliant. Thank you, Arielle. And Emma. Hello, Emma.
Hello, I'm Emma. I'm from Moonraker. We are in Bristol. I'm a producer and I'm the Access VFX mentoring lead. I have 3 mentors and I've been mentoring for a year now.
Oh, nice one. Well, we're all veterans. Good. And to my right, I have Dexter.
Hi, so I'm the co-founder of Prospella. You can see that all right. And yeah, Simon and AVFX and I, we go way back to the very beginning. When was that, Simon?
We're talking 2017. It would be September 2017.
Yeah.
So we're like lifelong friends now.
We're going strong.
Yeah. Nice one. And down to my left, Lisa-Mae.
Hi, I'm Lisa-Mae. Hopefully this works. I'm from Blue Zoo Animation. I'm a junior look development artist there, and I've been an Access VFX mentor since last September.
Amazing. So we're going to have lots of stories then from all of these long-standing mentors. And last but not least, Bianca. Hello, Bianca.
Hi, I'm Bianca. I'm a freelance 3D animator based in London. I've worked in short films, games, and television, including at Blue Zoo, actually.
Okay, wow.
And I'm a member of Animated Women UK. I'm on the BAFTA Crew film program.
Wow.
And I'm a new mentor to Access VFX as
You're
well.
brand new, aren't you? I think you've recently, like days ago, right? Is that fair?
Amazing. Very new.
Good, good. So there can be a lot of questions there as well. So thank you. And I'm Simon, by the way. I'm a mentor. I may not be doing a great job at the moment, but I do have two. So, you know, this will remind me to reconnect with my mentees if you're listening, both of you. So yes, so we'll carry on and get stuck in. So I'm going to get things started by asking my first question. I'm going to direct it to Dexter. Let's reverse back to 2017 when we first met, and we were connected through the Greater London Authority, as I remember, who connected us as a platform. And I know we were looking for a mentor partner for our launch event in 2017, which was a careers day at Westminster Kingsway College, where we connected with schools in the Camden, London area, from areas of low home ownership, high BAME, high special needs, etc. And it was a super success, but I'd love to reverse back to why you set up Prospella before we get into some key mentoring questions. So Dexter, over to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Simon. So I suppose going way back, so I'm actually a second generation immigrant, and my co-founder comes from a working class background, and we suffered from what we like to call a network disadvantage. And so what is that? Well, 75% of first jobs actually come through personal connections. And so it's no surprise that 9 in 10 of professional roles go to those with affluent backgrounds. And ultimately, building networks is key to solving this issue. Yeah, when we both started volunteering, and we've done various volunteering initiatives.
We're losing you a bit there. Hey Dexter, you might need to rewind a bit.
Okay.
I didn't hear any of that. Did anybody else hear that?
No.
Yeah, you might have bad Wi-Fi. Oh, Dexter, you're doing so well. Now he's frozen in time forever. Dexter, this is live TV. So we can edit it out, I think. I don't think we can do it with live stuff. Right, Dexter, you look like you're back.
Okay, there we go.
Right, do you want to reverse back?
What did you miss? Everything?
We got the first bit about 75% of people got their job through personal connections and the importance of networking. And then we kind of went into a void.
Okay, sure. I'll take it from here. So ultimately, building networks is key to solving this issue. Yet when we both started volunteering, and we've done various initiatives with the government and youth initiatives, youth charities, we came to realize that schools, colleges, universities, they all lack the resources, the time, the domain expertise to give each of their students the dedication they need.
Yeah.
And so what they focus on is what students know, and they leave who students know completely to chance. And not only that, when we were trying to volunteer, it just wasn't logistically friendly enough, despite being quite committed volunteers. And so that's what brought us to Prospella. Ultimately, was we wanted to change that by giving these students the foot in the door that they needed, and also providing those who wanted to volunteer the access they needed to do it.
Brilliant, brilliant. And so it's been running. You set up just before I think we launched around the same kind of time, didn't we?
We did, exactly. We did,
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, thank you for that background, Dexter. And I want to come back to some of those points you've mentioned, but I want to kind of loop Arielle in now from Foundry, because Foundry came on board as members of Access VFX last year, and also were big sponsors of a lot of our events. And I know Foundry were very keen to sponsor something big, so we said, hey, sponsor the e-mentoring platform. So we're about to go live across our global platforms, right, Dexter? Where there's some extra finance involved in setting up the right child protection kind of boundaries, because obviously the legalities are different in Canada and America. So we needed a decent chunk of change to make that happen so we can mentor across the pond. So Arielle, could you talk us a bit about why Foundry agreed to sponsor the program, or that specific program?
Yeah, so Foundry wanted to help do more to improve access for new talent in this industry, to encourage a wide range of talent to think about this as a career path. So this mentorship program is really just, we see it as a great initiative to, encourage that diversity, and it'll make our industry better for it. So we're very happy to be supporting it.
Excellent, thank you, Arielle. And it is, you know, for anybody who, any of the uneducated listening to this or watching this is e-mentoring. I know it gets bandied around a lot, but it is remote. You may never have to leave your home again. That's why this current random situation we're in at the moment is perfectly designed for e-mentoring, because you can still give back, you can still support people, and you're not just supporting your kind of local community or young or older people from the UK in Northern Ireland. You know, you could be mentoring somebody in downtown Brooklyn or in Montreal. You know, it's bigger than just, you know, it's a global community, which is what we're being asked to do more of in our current climate, right? So I'm going to ask Emma a quick question, because as you said, Emma, you are the Access VFX e-mentoring lead. I know we have a shared challenge as Access VFX in getting more mentors on board, but, you know, I'd love to hear more about what, you know, where the challenges are in getting that connection. You know, it's easy signing up mentees, right? But where are the challenges in getting more mentors on board, do you think?
I think for a lot of mentors, they are worried about their current workload. We all work in extremely busy studios where our daily challenges change by the hour. And I think people are worried that it'll take a lot of input from themselves. The sign-up process is extremely easy and will take 10 minutes.
Yeah.
You'll be then introduced to someone via a Slack channel. Now, Slack is an online platform. You never see your mentor. You can either download an app that's on your desktop, or it can be used through a browser. You're then introduced to your mentor via the Slack channel. And how much you speak to your mentors is up to you, depending on your schedule. My mentors drop in and out depending on their work schedule. So it's a two-way thing. Yeah. So I think it takes about half an hour of my week per week, but that's because I'm quite a proactive mentor, and every day, every morning, especially in the situation we're in, I'm checking in on them, on their mental health. Are they busy? Is there anything I can help them with? But that's just because I'm quite proactive with them. Yeah. It's extremely easy. I can see, I've got a couple of artists in my studio, and I can see when they'll set up a render, they'll then start chatting to their mentor. Yeah. So actually, it's really simple. And the longest time is probably your setup time, which is 10 minutes.
Excellent, thank you, Emma. And on that, any of the mentors that are on the call now, you know, did you have any reservations before signing up? Any of the, you know, as Emma said, you know, there's one of the biggest barriers for people in our industry getting involved with mentoring is time. So, so Daniel, you have a point to raise there.
Yeah, I mean, I actually had just started at One of Us when I began as a mentor. So obviously it was a new job, and it was a bit unsure if I should do that at that time. So I wasn't sure exactly what I was going to be doing as a compositor at One of Us, different to where I was before.
Yeah.
But as you've said, it's very, it's not a heavy workload, and you can kind of do it in your own pace. So there's no, the chats don't need to necessarily be live like this is, all organised at a time. They can send you a message and you can reply when you're able to.
On your terms,
so, and the nice thing is that with a couple of mentees, sometimes the questions are the same, so you can really consider stuff and maybe reuse some elements, and then there's other things that are more personal to that person, their particular needs and sort of thoughts. But it's interesting. I mean, sometimes they'll ask you to review shots, which is an unusual thing.
Okay.
Obviously, I've got the Slack on my phone, so I would.
Yeah.
But I would quite like to try and pass it when I come home, and then I can watch it on my projector, and then I can actually be really fast. Well, nice. I mean. Really detailed.
Well, you know, you need balance of constructive and positive feedback, right? That's important.
It's all, but it's. I think it's the feedback that you don't get if it's a showreel piece. Obviously, if there's something in it that's going to be a game breaker, then you want them to know.
Yeah. And Daniel, who are you mentoring at the moment? You don't have to say the names, but what's their level of experience?
So they're both students. They're actually both students at Escape. So they're not.
Okay.
They're not completely out of the loop. In the way that some of the mentees might be, which is just by chance, and they're quite interesting. And one of them is very involved. There are similar groups, just like there's Animated Women. There's also, I think, QVFX. There's various ones for different interest groups to help people kind of integrate, and they have a lot of connections. And then the other one is also, they're both final year students, so I imagine they're going to be hopefully going into industry this year. I mean, I'm interested in how this is going to work, this whole, work with entry-level positions.
Yeah.
One thing with seniors, but I don't know how that's going to work.
That will play out, I guess, in time, won't it? Bianca, you had a point to make.
I think for someone like myself who may not have, say, decades of experience in the industry, one reservation I had was wondering whether I had enough experience to be teaching somebody about the working world. But what's good is also that mentees can be they can be students, they can be early in their careers. They could be varying different levels, I suppose.
Yeah.
So
it's a good point.
There's still something that you can give back, no matter if you've entered the working world and you have experience. I think there are things that you can teach.
Brilliant. Dexter, you were going to throw something in there.
Yeah, no, I was just going to add to what Bianca was saying, because it's a really interesting point. I find that is also one of the reservations that we find is quite common, is that people aren't sure they have enough experience to give back. But it's actually quite surprising, just the small insights of what it's like to be in a studio. What is a working day like? Things like that can be just incredibly eye-opening and inspirational for some of these students. But also, we found that some of fresh grads, first jobs out of university, they find that this is their first opportunity to have some managerial experience. And we had one particular case where e-mentoring with us actually helped them get a promotion, because they could say, I'd mentored this many students and I had this great feedback from them, and their peers didn't have something to compare to. So it's an opportunity.
Amazing. Yeah, I want to come back to that point, but Emma, you had your sign up.
Yeah, it's important to remember that you don't need to know everything, because we're all human and nobody can know everything, but we're all part of wonderful studios, and it's actually brought some of our artists together as a mentee will ask a question and we will all sit down to work it out, what we collectively think would be a good response to them.
Yeah.
Creative directors that will kindly come and look at a show reel for me and give feedback. So you don't need to know everything, because you have friends who are artists, you have studios, and it's nice to be able to come together to help other people.
Yeah, I mean, it is a community, isn't it? Lisa-Mae, sorry, you had your hand up.
Yeah. Something I was also going to say was, initially I had the same reservations. I was worried because I'm still a junior, and this is my first job out of graduating, that I wouldn't have enough experience. But I actually found it's really quite helpful, because I get paired up mostly with students, and so I can obviously really closely relate to what they're going through. One of my mentees is actually at the university that I graduated from, so I can help them with kind of giving suggestions on how to cope with the workload while at uni. So yeah, I'd say if you're a junior, definitely sign up. It's almost of benefit if you get paired up with students. So,
absolutely right. Sid, you had a point to make.
Yeah, just to reiterate what everyone pretty much has been saying. I thought so. I was introduced to Prospera through my boss, Dan Waterman, who's an active member of Access VFX, and he just said that you should just go for it. And my first reservation was experience. Plus, the studio we're working at is really small, so I wasn't sure how useful I would be, because there's so many mentors from so many different occupations and companies, so wasn't sure how much I could add to it. But in all honesty, it's amazing what you can pull out when somebody asks you a question. Like when you're working on your own, you're like, oh, I only know one thing in my brain and that's it. When a student, my mentees have been students, when they ask you, oh, what's the pipeline like? Or, oh, how's your day-to-day experience? There's a lot you can talk about. So that's one thing. And the other thing was about, so I was concerned about, oh, I only know animation. I can't really help as an animator. But the way Prospera is set up is, like, this is more for the people who are looking to sign up. as a student, or if you're interested, you can choose what you want to learn or what you want to be mentored on. So as a mentor, I don't have to be worried about answering things that I don't know about or answering topics that I have no experience in, because the people that come to me are students who are actively seeking out advice in the roles that I say that I'm experienced in. So yeah, it's a really great experience. I've had a good time mentoring students so far. Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you, Sid. Daniel, you had a point to raise.
Oh, it was just when I was trying to get into the industry myself, I remember there was a forum, which is now defunct, but one of the most useful and popular threads on that was Ask the Junior Artist. And it was a young guy who was working as like a rotor artist on Harry Potter movies. And people, everyone wanted to know, because you think that these network connections that Dexter talking about are all going to be like, the CEO of the mill or whatever, but actually very often it's, if you want to get into roto prep, someone in roto prep at one of these companies. Often those junior connections are the ones that will get you a role, and those are the jobs that you need to know about. The issues that come up day to day for a VFX supervisor aren't necessarily what you need to know right now when you're not in the industry.
Yeah, it's a really, really good point. I'm glad we're having this conversation. I want to loop back to that point, but I want to include Arielle because you had your hand up. Did you want to add to that? You're on mute.
Yep, sorry. So yeah, I'll keep it brief, but yeah, I just want to emphasize on anyone who has any, who are being held back by this, fear of, do I have enough experience? Am I going to be able to give valuable feedback? But we all work in this industry. We all have that connection that everyone wants, or that the mentees will want to have. And we've all taken, we've all got completely unique experiences. We've all taken completely different windy roads into this world, of this industry. So anyone who does have, insight in this industry should consider becoming a mentor.
Absolutely. Thanks, Arielle. Bianca, you had your hand up.
I was going to add to what Sid was saying about not having all of the answers in some circumstances. That's a really great opportunity to make use of the mentors channel on Slack, the mentors only channel, and maybe ask that question for somebody else to answer who might know a bit more about what's being asked.
And when you think about we talk a lot about community. I mean, that's what's quite nice about Slack is you have that mentor Slack channel with all the mentors that are signed up, who can check in. So to your point, and actually all of your points, almost the power of being, I hate using the word junior because I think that does people a disservice, but even being starting out in your career, you could have a studio runner as a mentor, because by the very nature of your job, runners are connected to more people than, any of us. And, their network is extensive. So it's all relative, isn't it, when we think about experience? And I think one of the biggest barriers to mentoring is I'm not sage enough. I'm not like the Gandalf of VFX, I'm not all knowing, and you're not. I mean, the nature of mentoring is that it's, you can find the answers out, right? You're not a coach, you're not a trainer, you're a mentor. So you can, and you have the protection of being on Slack anyway. So you can't have your bemused face in a meeting. You can go, okay, or even feedback. Like one of my mentees is a aspiring 2D artist. So he'll send me his reel and I can just send it to a 2D artist that I know and get some feedback and then take all the glory. But my point is that you don't have to have all the answers, and all of you have articulated beautifully. And then you have all the soft skills, right, of mentoring as somebody in the studio anyway, because it actually reinforces your particular skill set. Mentoring is a skill, right? It's training, it's support, and it makes you a kind of better professional person as a result. Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
That's my segue for somebody to drop some knowledge bombs. Lisa-Mae.
I can speak a little bit about something that I always thought of while I was a student, which was you used to get told a lot that all of the networking that you do, especially in VFX, happens at the pub. And I'm not a huge drinker, and I kind of struggle in those big group situations. So I think had I had something like this when I was a student, it would have made me feel really connected in a way that I felt comfortable with, because not everybody enjoys going to the pub and enjoys that kind of networking situation where you're, you know, drinking loads of beer and chatting with people. Sometimes you just want some advice in a way that is comfortable for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Sid, you had a point to add to that.
Yeah, so exactly as Lisa said. Well, when I was in university, there was a big emphasis on going to massive networking events and just going and talking to people. But we've all been there. It's a lot easier said than done. You more often than not, I remember my first networking event. You go there and you just stand in the corner and pray that somebody will look at you and talk to you. And it's really difficult. And our industry is made up of introverts. Well, a lot of them are. Yeah. And this, what we're doing here, we're offering that network for people to communicate and to get in. And it helps a lot that most of our communication is done through chat. So even if you are just paralyzed with fear, talking to people like face to face, you can really get a lot through just text, and it helps a lot. So I really wish I had this when I was younger.
Me too.
It would have been amazing. So yeah, just
nice one.
Definitely reiterating that.
And that's coming from our most veteran mentor on the call, right? So, you know, big up. Emma, you had your logo.
As a producer, been producing for over 15 years, so I've seen a lot of first-time CVs, a lot of first-time reels. Having spoken to my mentees and witnessed over the last 15 years, it seems that in universities, you are taught to be an artist, but not taught how the world of work is, and how to sell yourself, and how to lay out your CV, and how to put your first email together, and how important these little things are, like not sending a blanket email out to every company in the country with accidentally putting the wrong company name in the top corner, which happens a lot. These little bits of information about how you can personally develop to get into this really kind of tricky world of work are so important. The things that are not about crafting your 2D or 3D, but are helping you as an individual to feel more confident to be able to talk to someone in a big room and shake their hand and not embarrass yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think it's those fundamentals as well. It's not just the tech, it's not just the software stuff, right? And we've proven we can teach that, and you're there to do that too. But the
trust yourself as an individual that you are worthy and that we want to listen to you. And every CV we receive, we want it to be the right person, and we want everyone to succeed.
Exactly. Daniel, you had a point to make.
It was going back to the networking events, because one of the questions I actually had a lot to one of my mentees was exactly what to do at a networking event. So you can actually, it's not one or the other, you can actually support them how they might approach it. So in my case, the advice was go with someone who's a bit more extroverted than you are. They will make the connections, and once the conversation starts, so.
Absolutely, I know, and it's it's almost, especially what we're going through at the moment, it's almost repositioning or made us all rethink how we connect as well. I mean, if you listen to the last episode we did as a Celebrity Squares last week, it was all about standing out while staying in. You know, we're in this kind of new normal where almost the softer skills are even more important, and the etiquette's even more important, because we're now online, so you don't want to be to Emma's point, hammering a studio recruiter with daily LinkedIn messages, like a constant tap on their shoulder. There's lots of different ways of approaching it, and the mentoring platform is a great way to harness those skills, or have that sounding board where you can go, hey, look, I'm thinking about tapping up this recruiter, should I do it now or later? And you'll have somebody who knows what they're doing, who have been through that before. So it's a really, really good point. Did anybody else want to add to that thread? I don't think anybody else had their hand up, so I'm happy to move on. Sid, sorry. Forgive me.
I've got one last quick thing to say. Like what Emma was talking about, like asking questions about CVs and stuff. Well, in general, there's no stupid question to ask. Like you can ask anything, as long as it pertains to what you want to learn about. And it's just again, it's a lot easier to get those questions across when you're talking to somebody, and you're also, I mean, again, when we're doing it through chat, you have time to prepare those questions, and you won't be lost for words technically. So yeah, there's always something, and yeah, it's just a great network to be a part of if you're a mentee. Yeah, just reiterating that again.
As a mentee, I imagine it's quite nice to be able to craft your responses even in a mentoring conversation as well, right? Like a lot of people have a fear of people working in industry or starting a new role, and actually you get to have a conversation, but you get to just sense check your sentence, come across a little bit. I don't know, is that fair? Is there a little hack there maybe?
Yeah, you can prepare yourself essentially, and it's a lot easier to, it's a lot harder to mess up when you know what you're going to ask in advance. And again, because there's always a time lag between chat, you can always just, like, if you see something that's either really useful or just whatever, like, you can always just sit on it for a bit and then just reply in response. And you have that option, which you may not have if you're doing if you're asking questions face to face. So yeah. Well,
plus you have the added layer that you can mentor people as young as 13 years old as well, right? So I always flippantly joke that you're not going to meet a 13-year-old kid for a coffee in Soho. It's just it's weird. Now you have that opportunity where you can still meaningfully mentor a young person without the awkwardness of a one-to-one, if that makes sense.
Yeah. One quick thing to add, I just remembered. So usually the people who sign up for this, for Prospella, they are the people who are interested. So as a mentor that you're going to have a conversation that will go somewhere more often than not. So even if you're a student or if you're somebody who's trying to get into the industry, it shows a lot. It really.
It's a big step.
It's a big step. The fact that you're taking the incentive to get involved and to talk to people, like that alone is fantastic. It really shows like you're willing to learn, you're willing to grow, and you're willing to communicate. So
so that says a lot even before you've said your first word on Slack, right? You've already kind of coming in with a decent pedigree. Somebody who's interested, who's keen, who wants to engage. That's a really, really good point.
It's a lot more useful than sending a LinkedIn message and hoping to get a hit or something. Because you're in the right space to ask.
So we're here to kind of really push the mentoring platform. As I said in my introductory spiel, is that we've done a lot of LinkedIn pushes, a lot of social pushes for mentoring. Emma's done some great posters. We've got stuff on fridges in studios, but we really wanted to get real stories out there. And one of the questions I want to ask is, do you have any success stories? I mean, most of you have been mentoring for a while now. Have you got any, you don't have to mention any names, or I'd rather you didn't mention any names, but can you talk about any great successes that have been achieved for your mentees since you've been mentoring them? Oh my, how few, thank God. Lisa-Mae.
Yeah. So something really cool that I was kind of chatting with one of my mentors about was just finding out how we could help students at her level and what she was kind of struggling with. And something that I was surprised to hear was that she still had a perception that there weren't women in the industry, or there weren't many women in kind of positions of influence. And I work in a really, really fantastic environment where I have so many inspirational women around me. And I think something we realized was there was like a lack of outreach. So a lack of female artists going to universities to guest lecture. And so a success that kind of came from that was that I was able to go back to the studio and say, hey, there's something lacking here. Maybe we can have a chat with some of the female artists and try and get them to do guest lectures to make sure that we don't get questions like, are there actually women in animation? Because there's plenty and really talented. So in terms of broadening people's perception of who ends up in animation. Oh, Sorry?
Oh, no, you went to, yeah. Can you say that last sentence again? We lost you a bit then, you went quiet.
Oh, sorry.
You went muted.
Yeah, so being able to make sure that the representation of all kinds of people in terms of outreach end up at university. I could then go back to Blue Zoo and chat to them about how we could help with that. And so that was really fantastic thing to kind of resolve and to be a part of resolving.
To be able to have something to anchor your conversation in with your studio heads as well, right? Because we all know there's a lack of gender representation, but actually to hear it from, that's the perception of somebody trying to get into industry, you've got that as
exactly.
as an in with the studios. That's a really, really great point. Thank you, Lisa-Mae. So Emma, you were going to mention something.
Yeah, I've got a lovely student female animator in her third year who was given conflicting feedback from different lecturers at school, and we were just able to talk through and give her confidence in her own work, and just alter something very slightly, but to just give her confidence that she could push back and say, I think this is working because, and actually I've shown someone, a professional artist, and he agrees. So that was nice, just to see her confidence grow. It's a beautiful thing.
And that alone is a huge success, isn't it?
Yeah.
Thank you, Emma. So Sid, you had your hand up, and we're going to go to Daniel and then Bianca.
So I guess like success stories it's like a really broad term because it could mean anything. And like with my mentees, they're both students, and they basically they're still in university, so the process is ongoing. Like this isn't a story where it's like, oh, I got a job or anything like that. It's I guess my success story is more the concept of like the communication concept of this was proven by the fact that we just kept talking. Like we kept talking for a long time, so it works. We were talking. She was asking for feedback on storyboards. I believe she was a second-year student, and she was asking for feedback, and it was a long process that happened over a few months. And I gave my feedback, and she fed back to like me as to what worked, what didn't work, what struggles she was having, what references she could get. And the fact that communication just went somewhere, because like again, I'm not gonna lie, when I started this whole thing, I wasn't sure how it was gonna work, like because there's some students who may not keep up, they may not continue the communication process, but it really did continue on for a long time. Wow. And she eventually sent me a storyboard that looked incredible, and it wasn't just because of me. It was like she asked other people. She showed a lot of motivation to like ask, as like aside from myself, and yeah, like it was great just to see that. And I had another student who asked for feedback on a showreel, and I think I gave him a massive like paragraph, a page worth of feedback, and I don't think he expected that. So he was glad that there was somebody here who was actually taking his work seriously and giving him the feedback that he wanted. So I guess just those small things, like I'd consider them success stories.
Absolutely,
in that regard. So
yeah. Thank you, Sid. Daniel, did you have your hand up earlier?
I didn't, but I have something to say. So.
Okay, go on then. The floor's yours.
So, I mean, I find like I try to make some of the feedback when people show work a bit like dailies, because obviously when you have professional work that people see in showreels, that's often had several rounds of dailies before it even gets anywhere near, gets published and then eventually goes on the reel. So I think it's good for students to get similar kind of feedback and be able to see what sort of things is expected, because often I think they're trying to do something super epic, but what actually catches what people need to pay attention to is really small details, quite minor things that could throw a potential future off. So it's just picking up on that's slippery, that doesn't match, you know, those levels are a little bit wrong. Those silly things that might not seem so big when you're trying to learn everything, and people are, you know, often doing quite way beyond what you might do in a professional context. Like they're making stuff in 3D, and they're although they're a compositor, they're creating elements, and they're doing, you know, this amazing graphics and all these things. But then maybe, you know, the actual 3D track is slipping or something like that. So it's just kind of grounding them in the kind of feedback that they can get. They can correct and hopefully put something out there. And one of my mentees actually, when they showed their reel at one of these events, was, you know, got massively positive feedback from a lot of the set. I mean, because it's
good they've had that first line of defense. It's good to get
feedback, you know.
Yeah. But you get to have feedback in that safe space, with you, I guess. You can kind of give them that feedback, honest feedback, and then they can take that forward. So that's a great example. Thank you, Dan.
Exactly. They could send it the same piece of work multiple times. You can't do that with a recruiter. Like with a pitch, you got one shot and that's it. You've blown it. M&M. Whereas with the mentee, with one rotor shot, I got one of them to do sort of 5 or 6 versions. You know, like, which is what might happen when you're actually employed. But when you're trying to get a job, you need to get one. You got one shot at it.
Well, it's almost a great experience having that, isn't it? Is getting it wrong, try again, getting it on wrong, try again. That's the lived experience in the studio, isn't it? But they're getting free from you without any fear of any real judgment, right?
Exactly.
So Bianca, you had a point to raise, and I'm going to move to Lisa-Mae. So Bianca.
So the success story I'd like to share actually has less to do with the mentorship program as a whole and more to do with Access VFX.
Yay.
And it's my own. It's how I got my job at Blue Zoo. And it was because, so I was working at a game studio at the time in Sunderland. And someone showed me on Twitter on the day that Access VFX were having I think they were running a careers fair at the local college.
Yeah, we did a tour of the country. Yeah.
At Sunderland College. So I remember on my lunch break running over there with like an iPad of my work and being really excited to speak to somebody from Blue Zoo. Because it was like the studio I wanted to work at the time. And I got to meet Tom Box and Katie Gascoigne, who were there at the Blue Zoo stall. And I just got some feedback on my work, not really expecting anything. And then by the end of the week, I had a job at Blue Zoo. So I think it just goes to show that if you have the initiative and you see opportunities for what they are and you show up and are friendly and interested, and even like signing up to this mentorship program, if you show that you have the drive and want to learn, then people will see potential in you.
Well, thank you for sharing that, Bianca. That's amazing to hear. And actually it builds on Sid's point around just showing up to the mentoring program is enough grounding to go on to do bigger and better things, which you've clearly done, Bianca. So thank you for that. Lisa-Mae, you had something to add.
Yeah, I guess it kind of ties in Daniel and Bianca's points together, is that it's, I think for students, a real privilege to be able to show work in progress, because a lot of what you do as an artist in industry is actually iterate. And oftentimes that process is really slow. So say, for example, if you take a tablet and you go to a recruitment event physically and show your work, first of all, often they don't have time to fully take it in and to give you proper feedback. But if you do get feedback and you do work on it, possibly the next time you get to show the improvements you've made is a few months, whereas this, as Daniel was saying, you know, you can get feedback and then almost daily you can iterate in that way, and that's a real privilege, I think, as a student to get that kind of one-on-one feedback.
And I imagine as a mentor, the feedback's more considered, because if you're at a careers event, everybody's coming at you left, right and centre, and you'll get to look at it, but it's quite a stressful environment to be in as a recruiter and a talent manager. But if you're in the confines of your studio or you're on your train home, as Daniel said, he's got it on his phone, you think it through more, right? I mean, I guess that's fair to say. Dexter, you had a point to raise.
Yeah, actually it's an AVFX success story.
Yeah, keep them coming. We'll have a 7 podcast episode on these.
Yeah, so one particular example was actually a younger student at school in East London. And you may have seen in the papers in recent years, you know, these gangs and stabbings. And this particular school where the student was at was some of the students were involved in this activity. And so you can see the sort of environment where the student was. And they had access to an Access VFX e-mentor. You know, they were having their applications to jobs and pieces of their work reviewed and so on, these little inspirational insights from the mentor. And I was speaking with their teacher, and the teacher said they got into Brit School. So, you know, one of the top performing art institutions in the country. And he said, I no doubt believe that this was directly correlated to the involvement that they had with Prosvella and AVFX and his mentor. And why I bring this up in particular is because the student actually took that opportunity. So not only did they open this door for them, but they took it. So a lot of the problems that we have is that students, sometimes they have opportunities to go to Cambridge or Harvard or whatever it is, but they won't take it because they feel like it's out of their league. And having this support network, this person who was egging them on, saying, no, you could do this, opened the door and then took them through it, which is incredible. And I suppose more broadly, that fits in line with some of the work that we've done. So, you know, we've done some pilot studies with Teach First, and some of the results are incredible. 85% of the students said the experience with us was one of the most authentic, personalized experiences into the world of work so far, but also 100% said that they felt energized after speaking with their mentors. So not only are they listening to what you're saying, but you know, hopefully they're doing something about it as well. So they're taking actions from, you know, these little pointers that you think are just a throwaway pointer. They're taking it seriously.
Just knowing somebody's got their back, isn't it? I think there's something really key in that. And I think Emma mentioned the whole piece around encouragement as well, is just support and encouragement. You don't have to be, you know, have a PhD in, I don't know, Houdini or After Effects. You know, you can just be somebody who wants to help someone out. And that's why we always say you don't have to be an artist. You don't have to necessarily be an animator or working on the tech. You could be working in the accounts team. You could be a HR person, because you're going to know people who can help that mentee at the end of the day, right? I mean, that's what it's about.
That's absolutely right.
For the last 15 years, for a long time, I've been the only woman in the room. And so I already feel like we're winning, because my mentees are people from different ethnic backgrounds, they're women, and they want to be in this work environment. And for that is the biggest success story, because we're speaking to the people that we want to, and they want to get involved in that. I think it's so worthwhile. It makes me so happy.
No, I mean, it's the. I always talk about e-mentoring being the heart of Access VFX, because it is the true get stuff done part of our mantra. Because whatever event we attend, even if it's a simple panel event or a schools event, we can always push the e-mentoring platform. So we can never be accused of not sending out a call to action. And the e-mentoring platform is the ultimate call to action. Sid?
Just on the topic of what Dexter mentioned about the students being energized, I'd say that it goes both ways, because like as a mentor, when I see like people actually, like, you know, when I'm talking to my mentees and I see that, you know, we're communicating, that they're taking on feedback, I feel great. I just want to keep helping people, and it kind of pushes me in my own career just to like really like go forward and just try and become better, because I want to kind of take on as much experience as I can, and then like disseminate that experience to as many people as I can. So yeah, like there's a real flow of energy happening. That sounds really that sounded really weird, but yeah. Like
Flow of energy, I'll work with that.
I love it.
We'll retitle the podcast episode Flow of Energy episode.
But yeah, it's just great. It's I would definitely think that's the case.
Yeah, there's a real reverse, isn't there? There's a reverse mentoring angle I'm hearing a lot on this episode, is, you know, the mentee gets as much out of it as the mentor. Lisa-Mae, you had your hand up.
Yeah, just building on what Sid was saying, I think it also, sometimes, you know, when you're having a bit of a down day as an artist in the industry, you take what you're doing for granted, and then the minute you chat to somebody and you hear how inspiring your career is, you sit back and you think, hold on a minute, you know, I'm here and I really value this. And I think you're so right about the flow of energy in that sense. You know, it really makes you feel positive and makes you feel grateful for where you are. And also something that I was kind of surprised to find was how creatively inspired I feel by the work that my mentees are doing. So there was this really cool project that one of my mentees was working on, and she approached it in a really, really interesting way that I wouldn't have personally approached it. And you know, you even learn a lot from seeing how different artists approach different things. So yeah, I personally feel creatively inspired by my mentees as well, which is
brilliant. Cool. Thank you, Lisa. Daniel, you had your hand up.
Yeah, I was going to say the same, similar point. You get a lot out of it. I mean, they often invest in your success as well, right? They want to see their mentor do well, mentees. But also just the questions, you know, one of the ways you learn a lot when someone asks you a difficult question, it's challenging. You have to, as you say, go and find the answer. Well, now you've got a reason to talk to someone in your department to ask them a question that you wouldn't have otherwise had. So that can set off conversations, and that can expand your knowledge. And again, like, it also is a way of sort of taking stock, and you do feel a lot more confident, I find, in sort of work, because you're like, oh, okay, well, that is quite good that I've done, you know, I am at a good stage of my career, whereas maybe I've been in a bit of a lull for a certain amount of time. And so I think that's a really big part of it, that it's an exchange, you know, it's like any kind of relationship where you're helping someone else, you strengthen yourself.
Yeah, and it is. VFX animation games, we're in the relationship business, and what we're doing is creating new relationships through this platform, right? Which create new networks, because every event that we run with Axis VFX, we always start it with a slide that says, you know, welcome to your network. If you didn't have a network, you have one now, because just by coming to Bianca's point, you know, an event, you come to an event, boom, that's the beginning. It's up to you what you do with it from there on in, really. Is that fair to say? You know, you have a network now, you know, the Axis VFX is your network, QVFX is your network. I want to start to bring the episode to a close, because I could talk about this forever. I'm going to check in with Emma, because Emma's our Axis VFX lead. Have we covered the key points, do you think? Is there anything that we feel we should squeeze in before we start to wrap up? Because I do have a final question.
I think going through the list, I think we've gone through our list.
Done the big sell. So I just want to hear from all of you now. It's why should people sign up? And I think it's obvious why people should sign up to be mentees, because it's going to develop their career, it's going to forge their own network. But what's your message to anyone out there working in industry, wider creative industry, VFX, animation, games, fashion, publishing, anything creative, right? Who may still be having second thoughts, or still only just considering mentoring and not going, right, I'm in. All right, so what's the one piece of advice? Why should people sign up? Bianca.
Well, I think it's a great lesson in leadership, isn't it? Just being able to inspire people, support them, encourage them to grow, challenge them.
Yeah.
And there's a lot to be learned from the mentors with more experience than you as well. And I'm sure they're happy to share their experiences and what challenges they've had the most success with their mentees. So yeah, speaking to other mentors and learning from them as well, I think is a big positive and a big reason to join.
A great lesson in leadership. That's a great quote. Might borrow that for the podcast blurb. Thank you, Bianca. Lisa-Mae.
Hi. Yeah, so I think for me, I would say if you can put yourself at the start of your career and think about all of the questions that you had that you didn't have somebody to ask them to, wouldn't you want somebody to be on the other end of that answering your questions? And I think if the answer is yes, it's really important to be that person who can answer those questions and make somebody feel a bit more confident in themselves and their career choices.
Brilliant. Thank you, Lisa-Mae. Arielle.
So, I mean, there's so many reasons why you should be a mentor, but first of all, it's fun. It's really rewarding. You get to do something for the industry, and it's really easy. Like, all you do is sign up, and the prosperity makes it really great, makes the process really easy for you. They do all the hard work for you. And then, basically these aspiring artists are so hungry for information. You know, going back to what Lisa said, you know, if you could talk to yourself back when you were considering going into this down this career path, you know, what would you tell yourself? I mean, in my case, I would have, you know, wanted to know all the options I had. You know, what are the options that there are? What are the different paths you can take? And it's really great, and it's really powerful. And you know, you have the insight that they're looking for. So definitely sign up.
Brilliant, thank you, Arielle. Sid.
Well, just to build on what Bianca, Lisa, and Arielle were all saying, I mean, we just got to hammer that point. It's fun. You're investing in the future of the industry because you're getting more people in, and that can only be a good thing. You're getting a lot of diverse people into the industry, so that means new ideas, like things that you wouldn't have even thought about as a mentor. You can learn a lot from your mentees. And yeah, it's just, again, as a student, you know, you would have wanted this help when you were at that place. And you can now take part in helping people who are in that place. So yeah, it's just, it's a long-term investment, and it is worth it.
Long-term investment, brilliant, thank you. Daniel.
So, I mean, when I was a kid, I remember saying to another kid that I wanted to be in special effects, and I'm going, yeah, but what do you really want to do? What job do you really want to do? And there are so many kids now who want to get into games, they want to get into film, they want to get into TV, and they've been like, what? Yeah, but what job do you really want to do? You know? Which office do you want to go work in? And it's like, it is a job. There are jobs out there. You can do this, and you can tell that, you know, you can help that kid to actually get a job. And kids that aren't from these backgrounds where they're not connected, and often those kids that are hungry, that are, you know, they don't have the opportunity, they're going to be better. They're going to work harder. They're not going to sort of coast along because they've not been able to. So I think it's going to be positive for you. And when you're, you know, maybe one day you're building a team, those people are going to be on your team because you were there from the start.
Amazing. Thank you, Daniel. Emma.
I would say that as a person working in visual effects, you're in a privileged position, and the state of what we're going through in the world right now, if anything, shows us that we should be kind to each other, and that we should be pulling each other close and creating a community. And if we're nurturing people now who want to be part of a community, what are they going to do? They're going to do the same. So in 5-10 years, imagine what that would be to our entire workforce. It will be such a kinder, happier place.
Yeah, it comes back to that future, that investment in the future, isn't it? Absolutely. Thank you, Emma. And last but not least, the man who kicked it all off in the first place, Dexter.
All right. I mean, I can only ditto what, you know, all the amazing things everyone's already said, but if anything else, just because it's a wonderful thing to do, and believe you me, it will brighten up your day. When you start seeing the results that your mentees are showing you, we always see mentors take on more mentees as well. So, you know, we'll have someone sign up and say, you know, I'll start with one, I'll see how that goes. A couple of weeks later, they're like, send as many as you want my way.
Send them over.
And, you know, the students are so grateful. We are so grateful. And, you know, it's just an amazing network.
Amazing. Thank you, Dexter. And I think on that word grateful, I wanted to say a massive thank you to all of you for not just taking part in this podcast episode, but also for your mentoring service. So big thank you to Sid, to Daniel, to Emma, to Arielle, Bianca, Lisa, and obviously Dexter. I think that went well. Again, our second Celebrity Squares, right? Did you enjoy that, guys? Would you come back? Would you do it again?
Definitely.
Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel. Thank you for keeping your kids well behaved. I think you did a sterling job. You get them quiet. Are they locked in a cupboard somewhere?
No, I've got help. I'm cheating, so I've got advantages.
I can't thank you guys enough. So I want to kind of bring the episode to a close now. But I guess I should say, if you are keen to get involved, either as a mentee or a mentor, go to the Access VFX website, accessvfx.org/mentors, and sign up. or become a mentor. We need more mentors, more industry mentors. There's still people waiting to be connected. Is that fair to say, Dexter?
Yep.
So as much as we're going, hey, this is amazing, it's only as good as the amount of mentors we get on board. Is that fair to say, Emma?
Yes.
Amazing. All right, well, have a good day. Stay safe and well, and we'll see you on the next episode. Not you lot, we'll have a different load of guests, but maybe on a future episode. But guys, thank you so much. Amazing. And have a great day.